Today we review Pactimo's Alpine thermal bibs, BibTights and Bibshorts. Hello legends and super legends, welcome to Veloharmony. In today's review, I decided to do a review on both of Pactimo's Alpine bibs. They have a BibTight and a Bibshort because I wanted to see if there were any major differences other than the fact that one of them you can wear with leg or knee warmers and the other is a full tight. On their site, I really like the way they have it structured to where you can just go and select categories. So I just went into the Alpine categories to decide to try this, and they listed them in a temperature range, I believe 30 degrees to like 45 degrees Fahrenheit, which is around -1 to 7 Celsius. That's the range they put in there. But of course that's going to vary because it's very breathable. I wore the BibTights in last week's ride, and I'll put some of the clips of them here when I'm doing this review. But they went further than 45 degrees. I mean, we were out there, it was about probably 51, 52, and it was still comfortable. So the temperature range is a guide, and then you have to decide with the wind chill and everything else and your tolerance what's going on. But I was very impressed with several things. I've never owned pocket bibs before. When I was holding it, I thought, this is going to be flapping around. That's not the case. When you put it on, this pocket disappeared. They suggest you can put like your liners and other things in there. I ended up putting in my bars for feeding because I had a gilet on, and it was a lot more accessible when I needed to eat something to not have to open up the gilet, go into the pockets and all that, especially with gloves on. So that was what I used them for. And I'm sure you could put other things in there. I wouldn't recommend anything very heavy. I mean, when the bars were in there, I did not feel them when I was pedaling. I want to start by looking at the inside. What I liked was the pad. The pad, at first, you ignore it. You know, they're not separated completely like in some of the other vendor pads, but they have a split down the middle, which has the same effect. What I liked was the density. It's not a thick pad, so it's minimal, which is what I like because my bike fits really well, so I don't need a lot of cushion. I prefer thinner pads, and there are a lot of riders that do. But what I noticed was that the pad comes about a little beyond midway, and then it stops. But they continue the padding in front. There is no pad per se like the one here. You can see it stops right there. There's a little split where it ends. So you don't feel anything getting in the way up front because you don't need it there. You're sitting here. And then your perineum is protected. What I liked was this additional piece in the front with these breathability air holes in there. It really protects you when you're riding in cold weather, and so you don't have a lot of cold wind against your private area. Big difference. The ones that aren't designed like that, you can feel the difference because the air will go through the Lycra. I really like that. The pad disappeared. So I gave it a thumbs up. That's the reason I'm doing the review. The other thing I liked was the fleece lining. They didn't overdo it. There's a nice lining of fleece in there, but it did not change how the garment fit you. I mean, I followed their ranges for, selecting my size. They're going to vary with Pactimo, depending on whether you're buying their regular Bibshorts, which I will review in the future, or the thermal Bibshorts. And I like that about this brand because I've had trouble with Rafa. When I ordered the thermal stuff, it was too tight, so I had to size up. Well, with these guys, they already have factored in the fact that they've got fleece and other things in there, so their size ranges, the dimensions are a little different for the thermal stuff, thermal tights and bibs versus the regular stuff. I've noticed that already. So I looked at the 12-hour bibs. They're different. So if you pick the ranges, you will be good. What I ended up having to do was my dimensions fell in the middle. So I just went to the next size up, and it was perfect. This is a double XL. Normally with their standard stuff like Rafa, I wear XL. But in this thermal bib, their dimensions that they put in there put me between XL and 2XL. So I just went with 2XL. I like that. And I wish the other guys would catch on and start doing that, because they're taking into account that they've added material on the inside. And so they're making sure that you don't have problems with the fit. So they've adjusted based on how they cut their garments. I really like seeing that, because I have problems with all the other vendors where you're guessing. The straps, after my ride, were not wet. So that means they wick really well, because I had layers on. It was a cold to cool day. We started out like 32 Fahrenheit to about 52, 53 Fahrenheit. In that range, if these things don't breathe up here, when you take them off, they're wet. Because the base layers that I wear, they wick moisture away from me. And if these don't breathe well, they trap it. And so you have wet straps. You literally feel them. Didn't have that problem with that. So I really like that. I love the fleece is all over, from the lower back all the way up, all around the garment. Very warm. At no time did I feel cold. There was a gentleman that went on Strava and posted a comment about the bibs. And I guess he saw it on the video or something, or he saw my comment, because I posted on Instagram also that I was feeding wearing these bibs. I think that's where he saw them. But he made a comment that made sense. He talked about, he referred to how they came up with the Alpine, you know, what they're doing. This company is in Colorado. And so he mentioned that, and I really like that. I kind of want to read that as I go through the technical stuff here before I put the bib on. Okay, great. I'm glad I found it. The gentleman's name is David Morrow, and I'm just going to read what he said on Strava. This is on the ride from Saturday, which at this time you may be seeing the clips that I put in here. But anyway, he said, Alpine collection has been tested in the high altitude cold of Colorado's Rocky Mountains. Brushed fleece interiors, which I just showed you, make for a supple and cozy fit against your skin, while high-tech thermal outer fabrics shield you from wind chill and frosty temperatures. With base layers, your temperature range, according to him, can go from 15 to 60 Fahrenheit. Then he says, Pactimo review from your last video. So I'm not sure what he meant. I don't know what last video he's talking about. It may be the one that I made with the hat, where I talked about the range of that hat. You know, it just really blew my mind. But I wanted to read that to you guys so you can see it. So thanks, David, for your contribution. I appreciate that. That's what I experienced, that this thing has a big range. With spring coming, I decided to go ahead and review both pieces that I brought into test. So before I put the tight on, I'm going to show you the short, which is also the Alpine collection. They refer to them as pocket bibs on their site. It's got the same design. It's like a very nice mesh pocket. When you put them on, they disappear. There's a nice elastic at the top, so you're not gonna have the pocket moving on you, even when you have stuff in there. Before I put that on, I wanted to make sure the insides, to see if it's different. So they've got the same exact pad, very light, minimal pad. It stops about 3/4 of the way, and then the front, they have a protective pouch with vents in there that keeps your private area nice and warm and shielded from the elements. The entire inside is the fleece that David mentioned in there. It feels so good. It's just soft against the skin. And this fabric really keeps out wind chill. And I believe that even though they don't say it's waterproof, it's gonna keep drizzle out, because these fabrics are very technical. Just looking at and just feeling them. They have a collection for rain and so forth. And I don't have copies right now, but maybe in the future. But for the most part, when you're in cold and wet, they have a specific category of garments that they produce for those conditions. It has the same kind of upper for the bib. I really like this minimalist strap. Very see-through, breathes really well. That's what you need. And the reason they do that is, it's not an accident. They don't want you trapping moisture in your layers. That's what makes you cold when you stop. So this continues the wicking process really well. So it just appears to be a shorter version of this. And down here, they've got a nice reflector on the side here. This is reflective. I really liked that when I wore the Bibtights. Very subtle. They don't have the name Pactimo on the side and all of that. This is just nice and classy. I like that. I like that styling. So let me put the Bibtights on, and then after I'm done, I will put on the Bibshorts. Okay. My first impressions putting it on, just easy. I mean, I've already worn this. I wore it last week and rode for 5 or 6 hours in it. So the feel of this is very lightweight, very stretchy. I really like that, and it's warm. So I think that it's better to have something that's warm but also comfortable. Some of the warm stuff from other vendors are very rigid, or they can be rigid, and they're hard to get in. I didn't have to do my usual pulling up to get this to fit me. And that's why I mentioned earlier that they have already factored the additional things that they've added to the garment. And so I guess they made their cuts appropriately, and then they have their size guide modified so that you're not going just buying the regular sizing from their standard summer bibs, and then you have to worry about fit. So this fits like their summer bibs. I mean, the summer bib shorts, you know, in this area here. There is nothing down here going on. They didn't put any zipper or anything on here. And at this point, you've seen the reflective strip in the back from the clips. I really like the reflective strip, and I love this, the subtlety of that design. The Pactimo logo, very nice. These are very comfortable. So if you're looking for something that you can wear spring, fall, you know, the shoulder seasons, this is it. And you can even wear it in winter depending on where you live, because this thing goes down. The ride that you're seeing that I'm talking about was 30 degrees Fahrenheit. So, you know, you can wear it in winter temperatures down to probably below 30 depending on how you layer. But I wore it down to -1 Celsius, which is about 30 degrees Fahrenheit, up to 10 or 11 Celsius, and I was comfortable. I love the range, so you get more use out of this because it handles very cold, it handles cool, and it can handle mild. Not up to 28°C, but I'm sure you could go up to probably 18 to 20 Celsius. You know, the area we live in, it doesn't stay cold the whole day. Not all the time anyway. So this is perfect. I'm doing this now because in a short while I'll be doing the different clothing guides for this time of year. So for spring, fall, this is a bib that you would get a lot of value out of. You know, spring, fall, in my opinion, and winter, depending on where you live. They did not list it as a particular spring, fall, yada, yada, yada. What they did was they said, Alpine collection, 30 to 45 degrees Fahrenheit. So depending on where you live, that's what this is for. But it doesn't lock you in there because of its breathability, so you can go up, or you can even go down, depending on how you layer. Very, very comfortable. Let me get out of this one and put on the bib shorts so you can see how they look. Okay. Same ease of the fit that I talked about on the Bibtights. I didn't need to pull the legs up. I have like 24-inch thighs they just got on there. So the modifications that they made to that size guide caused me to choose 2XL, which really works perfectly for me. Had I chosen the XL, which I get in their summer bibs, it probably would have had to be worked onto my leg and wouldn't have been as comfortable. They feel about the same. You're probably wondering, why do you need both? You know, who needs both Bibtights and bib shorts that are thermal? Well, depending on where you live, in my area, the temperatures usually start, say, Average wise, I would say probably 7 Celsius to like 13, 14 most of our winter, spring, and even fall. So you have decisions to make depending on what the day is going to do. If you have a day that's going to stay, let's say, from 7 to 10 C, stay below 10 C or whatever, and it's a cool day, you know, wind, overcast, I just wear this guy. I just wear BibTights. If we have a day like this weekend coming up, it's going to start 45 Fahrenheit, which is 7 Celsius. By the end of the day, it will be 21 Celsius, which is 70 Fahrenheit. So on a day like that, knee warmers or leg warmers, arm warmers with a short sleeve jersey, they're all into play because of what the day is going to do. That's why you have to get those pieces in your kit. So on a day that's going to vary, I don't put on tights necessarily, even though I could with these because of the breathability, so you have that flexibility. But on days that might go 21, 24, 28, but it started at 7C, you put this on, you put on knee warmers, and then during the day, you just peel off your knee warmers, fold it up, put it up. You've got this. I like to start with a nice thermal bib on the range I just gave you, which I called cool to mild. That's basically what it is in that range, cool to mild, because I want to be comfortable in the morning. I don't want to be cold. And with this breathability, when it does warm up to 21C, this will not be hot, especially with knee warmers. So that's kind of why you want to consider getting both or getting this, and then you can do leg warmers and so forth. Later on, I will review Pactimo's leg warmers and knee warmers. We have copies coming to the channel that we're going to do reviews on because they're very nice and warm and they stay in place. So I will be using some tomorrow and hopefully be able to do a review shortly after that. But I wanted to share this with you all because as you can see, I didn't talk about the pockets because the pockets disappear when you put the thing on. They're here, but you can't really see them, you know. So you can decide what you want to put in there. I chose not to put in the gel because this packaging on the gel is very stiff and very sharp. I did not want it cutting the mesh. So I just put my bars in there. You can put different things, like if you're riding and you shed and say you take off gloves or whatever, you don't want to put it in your pocket, nothing stops you from putting them here, you know. You just want something that's not going to be moving around too much. You don't want heavy stuff in here. You want something that's lightweight, small, you know. I like to put stuff that as far as feeding, you know, so I don't have to reach back that much, especially if you're riding really hard or fast or whatever. It's just easier to access if you have gloves on. So I will put links to these garments that will take you directly to them so you don't have to peruse their site if you don't want to. But I think that these are great pieces to have in your arsenal. And the reason is you will get a lot of use out of them because the only time you really can't wear them is in the heat of summer necessarily. You could wear them for early morning rides, you know, depending on where you are to start cooler. So you will get value. I don't like to get pieces of kit that I can only use once in a while. That's why I like breathable kits that I can wear. So around here, the only time I wouldn't wear these is probably July, August, and maybe mid-September, or let's say late June. Because June, July, August are our hottest months. That's when we go very light. So we use the regular shorts and so forth. And that's why I have a review coming for one of their, what they call their endurance 12-hour shorts and so forth. But as I stand here, I want to talk once more about what I showed you in front. That's what you're seeing here. This piece, there's no pad there with the vent. That's just the cover or whatever that material is that they cover it with. There's nothing here. I like that the pad stops here. You don't feel like you're wearing anything here because that thing stopped underneath there. It didn't come forward. You feel like you're wearing a diaper, if you know what I mean. So give it a check. I think they're competitively priced for the quality that they're putting up. So if you want shorts that will cover several seasons and be very functional, depending on where you are. If you're in California and so forth, where the mornings are cool, and so these are going to be perfect. You can wear them most of the year because the Pacific coats there. You always got cool mornings and so forth. And with this breathability, when you go in the mountains, you know, they will come in handy. So give it a try. The Pactimo Alpine collection. Let nothing stop you from getting your K's in.